Hey everybody, it's Nice. I hope everyone that unfortunately grew up a Cowboys fan is having a nice day. Today I am very excited to bring you my hybrid Sorcerer build. I've been having a lot of fun with this build, especially in Battlegrounds, outnumbered. It's just felt really fun, doing something off meta, but still having an amazing burst. I will have some gameplay of it at the end of this stream. If you've been to my last couple of streams, you've seen this in action. It's very deadly, and yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. So, gear. Let's start off with gear. I am using the sets that I feel are the two best hybrid sets that we have currently before the next patch's changes are implemented. That makes every set basically a hybrid set. That's one of those are New Moon. New Moon is going to give you both crits, both weapon and spell damage, both penetrations, and then a lot of weapon and spell damage. New Moon will increase the cost of our skills by 5%, but that's not really the case because we have this passive which reduces the health, magicka, and stamina cost of our abilities by 6%. So basically, as a sorcerer, you're going to negate that, no pun intended. Um, so yeah, so we're using New Moon. We are using Heartland as our second set. What this set's going to do is give us both weapon and spell damage, and we get both max mag and max stam. And then it's going to double our weapon traits. This is a really big deal because that's, why I have that much penetration on the sharpen trait, which is really good. And back bar, we are using the Vadishran Perfected Greatsword. I rarely actually use this proc on this build because it's a ranged build, but you see we got that 18% healing done on our back bar, which is amazing because of Heartland. We get a little bit more max stam, which is also going to help the healing. And since this is a 2H sword, we actually get more weapon damage from the heavy weapons passive. And what this is going to do is give us more weapon damage, which obviously affects our healing. So, you probably noticed that I'm using an Inferno Staff on what's basically a Stamp Sorc or Hybrid Sorc. The reason I'm using an Inferno Staff is because this build has to use a ranged weapon, which I'll explain that a little bit more later. And you're probably thinking, well, why not use bow? Bow has horrible passives. I'm sorry, it just does, for this build, that is. So we're not using any bow abilities, so this gives you up to 12% damage bonus against enemies at a longer range, but only with bow abilities. Accuracy, this is just crit, which is meh. Ranger, it reduces the cost of our bow abilities, not using any of those. This is the most, kind of decent one. Dealing damage with a light attack increases the damage of your bow abilities by up to, I think it's 10% once you got the passive. I don't know. That's only with your bow abilities, which I think may apply to your bow light attacks, but that's about it. This is a great passive, Hasty Retreat. You roll dodge, get Major Expedition, but we already have a source of Major Expedition, so it's kind of null and void. The reason I'm using Inferno is really two reasons. So the obvious one is equipping an Inferno Staff increases our damage done with single target abilities by 10%. That's 10% at all times. That's amazing. Another important passive is this Elemental Force, which increases our chance to apply status effects by 100%. I'm going to go over that a little bit more later. And the reason we need to use an Inferno Staff is because, well, I guess it's probably best if I just jump into the skills. So we are a hybrid, so we're using a mixture of mag and stam skills. We're using Haunting Curse, which is traditionally used by Mag Sorc. This does scale off your max mag and spell damage. Decent tooltip nonetheless. Streak, this is a hybrid skill. It scales with the highest of your offensive stats, so this is great. It's a stun, it's a gap closer, it's an escape tool, it goes to block it. What else can you say? Bound Armaments. So this ability, we're slotting. It has a very good skill. Over 5k physical damage every 0.3 seconds once you have it active and you're buffed up. But we get 8% more max stam while it's slotted. This is going to increase our damage. More importantly, this is virtually a light attack build. So we're going to get 10% more damage done with our light attacks. That is awesome. Very awesome. So if you're not aware, King of Games did a video on this, by the way. This skill is now giving the Expert Summoner passive, which received a little bit of a change. Increases your max health by 8% while you have a Daedric summoning ability active on yourself. This used to only be with Daedric summoning pets active. So as you can see right now, I only have this front bar. When I back bar, you see that health I lose? My max health drops down to 26.4. When I bar swap, you see it go back up. Now, if I activate this skill, and if I just remember to activate it at least once every 40 seconds, look, I don't gotta worry about that no more. Because the skill is active on myself. So keep that in mind. Here's the juicy part. So, Crystal Weapon. We all know what this does. We can proc this with our ranged weapon. It has a unique debuff in that it reduces the opponent's armor by 1,000. This is not minor breach. This is not major breach. It's just a unique debuff to Crystal Weapon that reduces their armor by 1,000 for 5 seconds. This has a 4-second duration. That's very important to remember. Crushing Weapon. This skill received a buff this patch. When you hit someone with this skill, you now get Major Breach. We have a range source of Major Breach on a skill that's virtually a spammable. This is a really big deal because you can hit someone with Crystal Weapon and Crushing Weapon at the same time. If you've been to my streams, you've seen this burst. We have Dawnbreaker slotted just for the passive 3% weapon damage, but you can use it sometimes just to secure a kill. We're using Overload as our ultimate. This is a light attack, and it's boosted with sources that are boosted by light attacks. So you're not going to see your true tooltip of your Overload because obviously it's on your back bar. But when we switch to our front bar, we get 8% more weapon damage from these 4 skills. Everything on this front bar gives us weapon damage except for Crushing Weapon. So your Stormcrawling passive Expert Mage, you see that 8%? All 4 of these skills are giving us 2% each. Now, Dawnbreaker, this is going to give us 3% per skill slotted because it's a fighter skilled ability. That is awesome. So that means when we bar swap, we're getting 11% more damage virtually. Give or take, you know, the sorcerer abilities on my back bar. So on the back bar, I got Race Against Time. I forgot to show this, but I am using Ring of the Wild Hunt. I have it Swift. I think that's the best way to keep it. Just having this one piece of armor gives you 22% movement speed. Very amazing open world. Very amazing for the build. You basically have the speed and maneuverability and healing of Stamsork with Rally and Vigor, but you have the range of Magsork, you know? I have 2 infused weapon damage. These are not golded out, so our tooltips can get higher. So, we have Race Against Time with that, just to get that source of Major Expedition. Hurricane is going to give us Minor Expedition. This is amazing for our movement speed, plus it's good damage. Rally, this is our source of weapon damage, Major Brutality, and Minor Endurance, which increases our stam recovery. Vigor, I mean it's Vigor. Dark Deal, this is our this keeps us with very good sustain. You trade mag for stam, and we have a lot of ways to get mag back with our CP, which I'll go into later. Honorable mention, if I had to choose a flex spot, it's going to be Rally or Race Against Time. Preferably Race Against Time because you have so much speed already, but I like Race Against Time for the snare removal. So what you could drop is, to make this even more hybrid, you can use Power Surge, which is going to give you both Major Brutality and Major Sorcery. This is going to buff your Curse. Everything else that you do is buff with Rally, but Crit Surge will buff your Curse just a little bit. I analyzed it, I tested it, and I found that getting Major Sorcery wasn't really necessary for this tooltip. It already hits hard enough with everything else we have going on. So yeah. And by the way, M-Pin, Reinforced Chest, M-Pin, everything else. I may look into doing Triglyphs on everything, but yeah. Let's go over our race. I think it's a pretty obvious choice. I think Dark Elf is the best hybrid race. You're going to get max stats for both max mag and max stam. This is very important. Very important. This is going to affect your tooltips, all your damage and skills, and your healing. Flame resistances is whatever. We're not a vampire. Weapon and spell damage. This is really big. If I had to choose a second race as an option, I'll probably go Orc. Orc is a decent hybrid race. Then you also have Imperial, which I'd probably put third. I'd probably put Orc second, but it's your choice. I just like Dark Elf. But Orc would definitely be pretty damn awesome on this build as well. So now that I went over the skills, let's kind of give them more of an explanation. So we're using Overload on this build, but let's take that off. And let me go ahead and show my stats, actually. We're sitting at, without a potion, we're sitting at 5,400 weapon damage, 2,200 recovery, 29k max stam, 28k max health, 17k mag, 4k spell damage, and 20k resistances. Really good stuff. So, Crystal Weapon, you can precast it, and you have 4 seconds to use it. You'll see the debuff timer at the bottom of your character. So there's 2 ways you can use Crystal Weapon. You can precast it, then you can hit someone with your light attack. And there you go, you see the debuff on them, you see that it hit them. You can do like that. The second way you can use Crystal Weapon is you can light attack and hit Crystal Weapon while it's on the way. While your light attack is traveling, this is what makes ranged weapons quite unique, is while that's traveling, you can then hit the Crystal Weapon. Crushing Weapon works the same way, but it lasts 2 seconds. Very short time frame. So you can do it the same way. You can precast it, hit them. You see the major breach there. Or you can light attack and hit it. So you see the major and minor breach on them. That's because of the passive that I mentioned earlier. You're going to see a lot of minor breach on your targets, and it's amazing. So Elemental Force, as I mentioned earlier, increases chance to apply stats effect by 100%. This is great because you do a lot of physical damage. If you didn't know, physical damage, which I'm pretty sure everything is, including bound armaments, all this has a chance to proc minor breach. Physical damage procs minor breach, similar to how flame damage can proc burning. Minor breach is about 3k resistances lost, whereas major breach is 5948. So we have access to reducing their resistances via major breach, crystal weapons 1000, and the minor breach that you'll see proc occasionally. So why is the crystal weapon and crushing weapon combo very lethal? Well, they can hit at the same time. So we can precast crystal weapon, then do a light attack crushing, like so. And all of that hits them at the same time. And you see that minor breach there, right? It's a lot of pressure. Major breach has a 5-second uptime with this skill, so you don't have to always precast it. It can get really clunky. Just kind of feel your way out on what you want to do, depending on how much pressure you got on you. But what you could do is do like that, and then now you can just do your normal light attack crystal weapon spam. Very amazing spammable, and you can keep range. You can play this like a mag circ, you know, constantly backpedaling, keeping your distance. You're fast, you got Wild Hunt, you got Boundless Storm, you got Race Against Time. They get close, you can streak through them. You have a lot of movement speed. So, but wait, there's more. So if we have Overload, what's gonna happen, oh, my battery's dead, oh well. If you have Overload, right? What's gonna happen is they're gonna get hit with Crystal Weapon, Crushing Weapon, Overload, and they're gonna get hit with your Shot Glyph. By the way, all this has the high chance to proc a status effect, so we're looking at a lot of minor vulnerability. Also looking at a lot of minor vulnerability via our Hurricane. So what that's gonna look like is you're gonna buff up, you got your Overload ready, precast this, and then look. All that hitting at once, including your Shot Glyph. You also have Haunting Curse, so the way you want to time it, and you'll see me do this, I think, in one of the clips, is all that exploding on them at once. It's very lethal. You can also precast Streak at the end of that crushing weapon so that you fly towards them. It's very tricky timing, to do it. But essentially what you want to do is like this. And you can actually time it even better than that. So that's pretty much the go-to of the build. You got Vigor, you got your Rally, you got your Dark Deal. So let's discuss CP. So In the blue tree, oh, I'm in combat. Give me a second here. So in the blue tree, you have Master at Arms. That's a no-brainer. Direct damage is everything we're doing. That's not a dot. That's 10% more damage. Weapons Expert. This is going to increase our light attack damage, which virtually this is a light attack build by 15%. That's a big deal. Deadly Aim. We're going to double dip into that. We're going to get another 10% damage. All this applies to our overloads and our light attack crushing weapons. Like all of our bursts. That's additional 35% just right here in our CP, which is crazy because this eliminates people in battlegrounds even without this CP. Ironclad, this is a no-brainer. Reduces direct damage taken by 10%. This is the replacement for if you used to run an unassailable and or duelist rebuff last patch. You can get both with just slotting Master at Arms. Excuse me, Ironclad. Red CP is where things get tricky. There's actually one, maybe two flex spots here. So Celerity, I feel like this is non-negotiable, especially on a ranged Stamp Sorc with a lot of speed and burst. This is like a mini Wild Hunt almost. I highly recommend this one, as well as Refreshing Stride. I would not drop either of these. While sprinting, you gain 500 mag recovery. So while you're sprinting away, you're getting mag. That mag is then exchanged for stam because you're sprinting via Dark Deal. And it's just amazing synergy on Stamp Sorc. I highly recommend it. Pain's Refuge because you get damage mitigation while outnumbered. Per negative effect on you. You do have a lot of speed, so if you wanted to, you could drop this for the one to where if you CC break, you get major protection. I've just found this to be more consistent as it's mitigation even if you're not getting CC'd. Balanced Vitality, this is how we get our health to that 28k mark. You could play around with glyphs and drop this. If you go Orc, you won't need this CP passive and you will be able to add something else. So I'm gonna have some gameplay here at the end, kind of showing the burst and the potential. I got a lot of Battlegrounds footage as well as some Cyrodiil footage, which I'll start off with. Full disclaimer for this footage I'm about to show. Let me preface this by saying I don't want hate sent to anyone. Yeah, I know I'm a pretty nice dude, pretty level-headed dude. I don't want no toxicity in my community, my channel, etc., etc. But someone sent me some clips of someone's stream, and then I went to find the stream myself to actually go, make sure it wasn't like doctored or some shit. I don't think they would do it, but I wanted to double check, right? A person in this following clip accused me of having a modded controller twice. If you listen to their stream, they accused me of having a modded controller twice because there's no way someone can do that much burst damage, which I get that not a lot of people are doing this burst. It's a new burst. It's like a new thing I came up with, and I get it's not everywhere, but I feel like throwing that accusation around is kind of like offensive. I didn't take it to heart really, but just because you lose or you die doesn't mean someone's exploiting or cheating. I don't have a special controller, and I think I obviously just demonstrated what I did to this guy inside this build video itself. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because the burst hits people so hard that they assume you're cheating apparently. And some other mean things were said, not by them, that's the only thing they said, but the rest of the group that was in the clip. So that's all I want to say. No bad blood. When someone showed me that, I was like, wow, really? But yeah, that's all I got. Let's go ahead and get into the footage. I appreciate you sticking around. This will be a long video. I'm gonna try to get as much footage of the build on display as I can. Thank y'all for coming through. Thank you to all my subscribers, all my channel members, and everything like that. Enjoy the gameplay. Hold up, hold up. Punish, protect. Oh! Oh! let's test on him.
Save me!
Oh!